Masturbation, a word that either makes people smirk, shift uncomfortably, or quickly change the subject. It's one of those topics that lives in the shadows, discussed in whispers, hidden in shame, or reduced to jokes. But today, we're not whispering. We're diving headfirst into one of the most personal, misunderstood, and often misrepresented human behaviors. Because the truth is, while masturbation is natural and common, there are some shocking truths that rarely make it into everyday conversation, and you deserve to know them. So, before you roll your eyes or assume this is just another clickbait headline, ask yourself this: how much do you really know about what happens when you masturbate? At its core, masturbation is simply self-stimulation of the genitals for pleasure. It's something nearly everyone has done, or at least thought about doing. It's not new. Ancient texts, from Greek philosophers to Eastern scriptures, reference it. Science has studied it. Religions have condemned it. And the internet, it glorifies it. Yet behind the memes and medical articles lies a more complex story, one that doesn't fit neatly into categories of good or bad. Here's where the conversation gets real. The general narrative today paints masturbation as harmless, even healthy. And in many cases, that's true. It can reduce stress, help with sleep, and even improve mood. But like anything involving dopamine, reward circuits, and the delicate psychology of the human brain, moderation is everything. Because the problem isn't necessarily that you masturbate, it's how, why, and how often. When done excessively, daily, multiple times a day, or as an emotional crutch, masturbation can begin to rewire your brain in ways that aren't so harmless. See, your brain loves patterns. When you reward it with a flood of dopamine for a quick hit of pleasure, it takes note. And over time, it learns. This is how we feel good. This is the fastest way to escape boredom, loneliness, stress, or anxiety. It's a shortcut, and shortcuts are addictive. People don't talk about masturbation addiction, but it's real, and more common than you might think. It doesn't look like drugs or alcohol. There's no overdose, no slurred speech, but the consequences can be just as devastating. For some, it starts with late-night scrolling, then becomes hours lost to porn, days of brain fog, and eventually, a decline in motivation, productivity, and even intimacy in real-life relationships. What once felt like harmless fun becomes a cycle of escape, regret, and compulsion. And here's the kicker: your body starts to notice too. Not necessarily in obvious ways, but subtle ones. Excessive ejaculation can drain energy, leaving you feeling fatigued, unmotivated, even emotionally numb. Your testosterone levels may take a hit, especially if you're not getting adequate rest or nutrition. Libido, ironically, can decrease. Erections might become weaker. Some men report feeling emptier, like they've given something away that doesn't come back quickly. It's not just physical, it's psychological. Because what's being lost isn't just semen, it's drive, focus, presence. Another rarely discussed aspect is how masturbation, especially when paired with digital porn, can reshape sexual expectations. When pleasure is always a swipe or click away, when satisfaction becomes instant, and when fantasy replaces real-world connection, it becomes harder and harder to feel satisfied with a partner. This is something relationship therapists are seeing more and more. People, especially younger men, reporting issues with intimacy, performance anxiety, and inability to connect. Not because they're broken, but because their brains have been trained by thousands of hours of instant, effortless gratification. Real intimacy suddenly feels too slow, too complicated, too vulnerable. And let's not forget the emotional consequences. After the momentary high wears off, many people experience what's known as post-nut depression, a sudden drop in mood, energy, and motivation after orgasm. While it might sound like a joke online, for some, it's deeply unsettling. It reinforces feelings of shame, loneliness, or even worthlessness. Over time, this emotional roller coaster can lead to deeper issues: depression, anxiety, and a kind of quiet despair that's hard to talk about because society says, hey, it's just masturbation, don't overthink it. But maybe we should think about it. Not to shame it, not to ban it, not to moralize it, but to bring awareness to it, to treat it like any other human behavior that can be healthy or harmful depending on how we engage with it. Because we monitor our eating habits, we check our screen time, we talk about mental health, so why not this? What no one tells you is that masturbation is more than just a physical release. It's a ritual, a relationship with yourself. And like any relationship, it can be nurturing or it can be toxic. When it becomes a substitute for connection, purpose, or even real pleasure, it stops serving you. When it's driven by compulsion rather than choice, you're not in control anymore. And if you've ever felt like you need to do it just to feel okay, that's your sign to pause, reflect, and ask, what am I really chasing? There's no magic number, no scientific formula that says masturbating 3 times a week is fine, but 4 is too much. The truth is, the answer is different for everyone. But what stays consistent is this: awareness is key. Ask yourself, does this make me feel better or worse? Am I using this as a reward or a distraction? Do I feel empowered after or ashamed? Because once you start asking those questions, the answers can lead you to powerful insights. You begin to regain control over your habits, your mind, and your choices. You learn to delay gratification, to manage urges, to reconnect with your body in a healthier way. And that's where the real strength lies. Not in abstinence for the sake of it, but in mastering the impulse rather than being mastered by it. So, masturbate at your own risk. Not because it's evil, not because it's wrong, but because anything that affects your mind, your emotions, and your energy deserves your attention. This isn't about fear, it's about freedom. The kind that comes when you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Because the truth they don't tell you isn't that masturbation is dangerous, it's that ignoring its impact is. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we stop laughing about it and start talking about it for real.